So, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today. On behalf of the India Interest Group's Board of Directors, welcome. I am Mrinalini Watson, President of the India Interest Group, a chapter of the Fulbright Alumni Association. We are committed to strengthening the cultural and intellectual ties between the US and India by fostering bilateral relations, supporting alumni and visiting scholars, advocating for research and collaboration, and by cultivating community and cultural exchange. We host virtual and in person events that celebrate cultural diversity and stimulate intellectual curiosity. Today, we have the fourth and last presentation in the Visions and Voices series. Um, During the series, Fulbrighters shared their insight on global health, Indian opera, and the ethics of artifact acquisition and repatriation, connecting these diverse subjects through an empathetic lens, actively looking at issues that are hiding in plain sight. Today's presentation on mental wellness by Fulbrighter and psychotherapist Rima Sehgal couldn't be more perfectly timed because May is Mental Health Awareness Month. May 11th to 17th is Mental Health Awareness Week. And May is dedicated to mental health awareness to transform systemic silence into active, life-saving community support by combating social stigma, educating the public, and driving political and economic change. I am delighted to present Rima Sehgal, PhD. Ms. Sehgal has been a mental health professional for 27 years. She earned her PhD in psychology from the University of Delhi. Rima was subsequently awarded a Fulbright to the University of Maryland in 2013. She currently lives and practices in Ontario, Canada. Among her many accomplishments, she has published a book on how to study smarter. And in 2023, she founded the virtual clinic, Therapy Supports, which works with experienced professionals in Canada and India, providing psychological services, workshops, programs to educational institutes, corporate houses, and social organizations. Before I hand the mic over to Rima, I would like to, I'd like to invite everybody to our last program for the season, and that'll be next weekend on Saturday. It's the last event in our virtual chai chat series, and it will be. Sorry, I've got people trying to enter. It will be a Haibun writing workshop. So I look forward to seeing y'all there, and we'll send reminders to register next week also. All right, Rima?
Thank you, Mrinalini. I will take a minute to share my presentation and would like to, how come I'm seeing two of my presentations? I hope. Why am I seeing two? Okay, I'll just take
All
a
right.
minute.
So we can see your slides,
All
right?
the place.
Yeah.
Let me go back.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Now is it okay?
Yes, it is.
Perfect. So thank you, all those who've joined. Thank you so much for being interested in talking about psychological safety, because when we look at Maslow's needs of, the hierarchy of needs, we know that safety is one of the basic needs. We all are wired. The nervous system has a very important part, which is the survival brain, right? The survival is feeling safe is one of the most important needs. And More than adding, research or data to my presentation, I've tried to keep it lighter, something that I know we have Fulbrighters here, really the brightest minds, but I somehow don't see that I'm a very bright mind. I would rather keep it simple, as much as we can connect, a sort of heart to heart conversation. And anywhere you disagree with me, or anywhere you want to comment, or you can relate to what we are talking about, I'll really appreciate a message. I don't know how much time we'll have to discuss that, but as much as possible, I'd like your participation as well. So, with that, we just talk about workplace culture. And although the presentation it would largely look as probably we're talking about a corporate setting, but I think all those aspects can be applied in any sector. If most of us are working in education sector as academia, I think we can all relate to that. So let me know if there are any more questions and or any comments. So, to begin with, what is safety? So, whether it's our home or its workplace, safety is where I can be myself, right? Where we can be comfortable in speaking our mind, where we can voice our concern, right? Where we can accept our mistakes. So that's what my idea of psychological safety is, where I would like to go, like my workplace, where I'm not uncomfortable about, oh no, another day at workplace, because I work with uh, professionals from a wide variety who going through mental health challenges. Largely, high functioning uh, clients are my major focus, and they some of them have huge challenges with workplace anxiety. So that's what my idea of psychological safety is, where I can be myself. Why it matters? It matters because it's directly connected to my well-being. Majority of our time, the waking time, is spent at our workplace, right? Even though we sleep through the night, but the waking hours, largely it's the work that we do. So if I'm uncomfortable there, if I'm feeling unsafe there, if I feel not valued enough there, then it would have direct impact on my stress, on my well-being. So when we work with team, then of course it is important that I feel safe, heard, uh, valued there. My inputs are valued in a team. It builds trust and collaboration, of course, and helps us to work without feeling stressed out. Speak up or stay silent. I don't know how many of you can relate to any workplace where the barriers to psychological safety sort of show up. Just think of your workplace and a recent meeting. Did you have to, because I know many of us have to, did you have to hold back any idea, concern? And if yes, then I don't know if you can take a moment to identify what was the reason that you had to hold it back, right? Was it fear of judgment? Was it the power dynamics, right? The hierarchical nature of the workplace, or past negative experiences? It's also important, since we have uh, people who may be in the leadership, right? Some of you may be in the, or probably all of you would be in a leadership position, whether it's head of a department, or, teen, or whatever the position. I'm sorry, I don't know you better, but it's important to notice the people who are subordinate as leaders. Do we see some of them don't share? Do we see if we are providing that safety to people who are working with us, whether it's our teammates or those who are subordinate? So I think that's a moment to reflect on. Silence in teams is rarely about lack of ideas. It's about lack of safety. Okay. So what are the signs that yes, there's low psychological safety as we are discussing? That's the major one, fear of speaking up. Monday blues is another thing that we often hear, right? How strong are those blues? That just gives us a sign that something's not okay at the place of work. No job satisfaction. I'm going there, I'm dragging myself because I need the paycheck to pay my bills. So that's another big sign. Anxiety, of course, avoiding risks or new ideas. So even though I have all the intelligence and brilliance of having innovative ideas, of creating new projects, creating new programs for the group that I am for wherever I work, I don't want to share them. I don't even want to tell about that, right? And when there's a blame culture. So take a minute to reflect what subtle obstacles undermine well being, right? These barriers are important to be aware of, and only when we are aware of, we can do something about it. We can first identify it's happening with me, or if I can see in my team and people I work with, if it's happening with someone else. If I am unknowingly uh, a party to sort of making someone else feel low about themselves or feel uncomfortable about themselves. I think all those things can be reflected upon, and that's what the idea is. How we can make our workplace safe. How many of the following resonate with you? And this is, I think, probably this is what will give us an idea if any of us experience some sort of unsafe, uh, unsafe environment or space at our workplace. So the always on expectation, it's too strong in the corporate sector, but they're like I've worked for decades in India as a school counselor, and fortunately, when I was there, it was a different environment. Then we had a change in leadership in the last few years of my experience, and all hell broke loose. Like there was so much of right, wrong, right, wrong. There was no space of talking about what we want to do. So, and then the present day, I have heard that about people in Canada who work both at schools and other organizations, and even in India. It's like every teacher is supposed to be on the WhatsApp group. You're supposed to, the parents would know your personal numbers on WhatsApp. At, at the middle of the night, at 9:30 p.m., you can get a message of this has to be done tomorrow morning or this needs to be moved. So it's like always on. And we can imagine if we are not having that, how how hard it is to work in that environment where you're always on the go. Micro dismissals, right? Talking in the meeting or you're sharing something, you're asked a question. If not initiating, you're asked a question. And before you can even complete what you're saying, you're interrupted. You're not even looked at, right? Those are micro level dismissals, unclear expectations. This is another big one where we start with one project and not even moving there, and there's another task sent, another sort of expectation shared without even clarifying that which one is the priority, this one or the previous one, etc. So ambiguity is a big one. Lack of autonomy, needing approval, everything has to go through the person who's maybe hierarchically the leader, or like there's no trust in you, so you have to be constantly in control of the other person. Low grade incivility, like they won't be, you can't you can't take them to the HR for harassment, but you're experiencing it all the time, whether it's eye rolling or passive aggressive. any sort of uh, discrimination, unspoken hierarchies, and meeting overload. So those are so often seen. I mean, the people that I work with, and I'm sure some of you can identify. Have you? I mean, we are a very small group, but has anyone heard or seen or experienced, if not in the present job, maybe in some earlier role? Anyone? Just give a thumbs up so that I know. Uh, okay, thank you, thank you. Some of us do see a connection to what's happening. Okay, there are a few more. So this one is cognitive load creep. Too many tools, too many challenges, too many notifications, and your mind is juggling. Unpredictability. Again, ambiguity was what I mentioned. Even this unpredictability is slightly different in the sense uh, constant, inconsistent, last minute changes. This is a big, big one. Social isolation. I think we all need that, whether it's in the family, in the community, or at workplace. And since we know majority of time is spent at workplace, having a sort of, you know, some people or some team feeling is so important. So when there's no real connection, it gets difficult. Unfair workload distribution, this is so common. I'm sure the couple of people who gave me a thumbs up can say that this is so common, because that instantly makes you realize there's discrimination, there's lack of fairness. Silent disengagement, when people just stop speaking up, right? With this concept or learning that, oh, it won't matter. So there's what's the point in speaking up, right? It's not worth the energy. So that's a quiet beginning of burnout. We stay in that job where we have no voice, where we're not valued, and that's the beginning of burnout. So I wonder if you could count if any of these resonate, these 12 uh, aspects or signs resonate with you. So, the core elements that all of us look forward or want in safety, because human emotional needs are universal. Wherever in the world we are, this is what we need: workplace, inclusion, respect, trust, openness. That's so important. And how we create, how we uh, uh, share, how we talk about it is what we are going to sort of hone our skills if we are not already doing it. I'm sure many of us are already doing this. Let's see. How can leaders build psychological safety? So, if those who are with me or those who would listen later are in a position of leadership, what can I do? Normalize, I don't know. So, if a leader is able to say, oh, really, this is what you're suggesting, I don't think I know about it. It gets easier for others to mention that, to speak about it when they are not clear. It doesn't become embarrassing. It doesn't become like, oh, how could you not know, or how dumb you are. So leaders can talk about that. Ask for inputs before giving your opinion. So being aware who doesn't speak, being aware that others need to feel participants, feel part of the group, feel seen and heard. So ask for input, reward speaking up, right? Not just being right. So we know when somebody says something right, something good, there's always largely appreciation. But the fact that somebody is participating needs to be noticed and acknowledged. Use what am I missing as a default question. Replace blame with curiosity. It's so sad when blame comes, right? Especially in the corporate, there's so much pressure because the vision and mission, whatever they write on their policies, is a different thing. But the vision and mission is profit, right? It's those business goals. So when we blame, then of course, uh, We cannot create psychological safety, right? And other places, like where there is not profit as the main concern, but you have to run the department, or you run the sort of care of students, or the program in a particular way. Even there, if you see as a leader there's a problem, there's something lacking, one can probably reframe the questions more into curiosity. Narrate your thinking, let others know what you're expecting, what you're thinking, what your belief is, so that people can know you inside out and not just be scared of the hierarchical status and keep their views to themselves. Model healthy conflict. So if there's conflict, one can talk about, yeah, we can agree to disagree, and how okay it is to have difference of opinions. Share small personal stories. I'm sure all of us have done that somewhere or the other, wherever we wanted to create a pleasant conversation, be more courteous, be more inclusive. Then sharing personal stories is the easiest way to build a connection. Celebrate learning, and not just outcomes. Yeah, outcomes, as I mentioned earlier, reward speaking up, not just being right. Similarly, the learning has to be acknowledged, not just uh, when there's a good result. So use we language. These are some of the things that I think in our day-to-day meetings with people, whether we are head of the family, even there we can use that, or head of the workplace. Uh, these are subtle ways of creating an atmosphere which feels welcoming, which feels easy and safe. So, what I'm talking is all about emotions, right? So, psychological safety is the safety, not just can I speak, but will I be received? Sometimes, sometimes it just feels that I'm not welcome. I remember a very sad experience. I don't know if I should share that, but it just came to my mind right now. With one of the very difficult bosses. We had a huge meeting, almost all the faculty was invited to that meeting, and they were discussing some management things, like in their classrooms or wherever the fans are repaired and things are done. And I just realized it's not done. I just mentioned, I don't think it's done in my room. Like, nobody came for checking if it's working or not properly. And the leader said, well, we don't care about your room. We don't care if the fan falls in your room. I don't know. Something happened inside. And I still remember that. It's been more than a decade that it's happened. So just just the discomfort, like I knew that they would they're not very welcome of my suggestions, but they would be so rude, was something uh, beyond me. So it's not cognitive, it is felt in the nervous system. And even now, when I'm talking about it, I don't know why I'm sharing, but even now that I'm talking about it, I can feel that tinge of, tear in my eye, because that's what I did. I held my tears in that room. Am I safe here? Do I matter? So at work, just like in relationships, we are constantly asking. One of my favorite, or maybe I have another slide of that where I talk about it. I'll repeat it because I don't mind repeating. Some messages need to be repeated. My favorite approach that I use with my clients in psychotherapy at present is emotionally focused therapy by Sue Johnson. And one important aspect that she says, because she worked initially with couples, the therapy was used with couples. So the only thing she said is ARE, which means, are you there for me? So ARE, A is accessible, R is responsible, and E is engaging, right? This is what we need in any relationship. She was talking in context of couples, but I see in all contexts, right? whether it's a work relationship or personal relationship, that's what we expect in healthy, safe relationships. What every employee is asking, again, am I seen, valued? Will you respond when I reach? Right? So workplaces are not just performance systems. I think they are attachment systems in motion. So Sue Johnson's theory is based on attachment theory, right? How as a baby, as a child, we learn that attachment connection uh, with our caregiver, with our parents. So whether it is anxious, depending on the caregiver's response, or it is withdrawn, or it is safe and secure, right? Or it is disorganized. So what I'm also saying is that a part is also about us if we go to the attachment theory. Yes, how my leader treats me is important, but if I am the one who's already anxiously attached, all help would break loose for me if my leader does not sort of provide that safety, because I'm seeking safety in every relationship. So, what we can do to build our own emotional resilience is also something I'd like to touch upon. But so much about how it is our emotions at workplace. So, I don't know if any of you would like to participate, but uh, how, as a leader, we can rewrite the following. Because imagine when it comes to you from someone, you give a suggestion and they say, oh, that won't work. How does that come to you? We've already tried that. You're overthinking. Like, I remember, again, the same leader comes to my mind because as a therapist, as a counselor, for me, working with all stakeholders was so important. I'll always keep thinking, what more can I do? Can I have, parenting group and programs for, say, a grade elementary students, then parenting programs for parents of uh, middle school, parents of high school, because everybody has different developmental stage that their children are in. And the other leader that I had, the first one, of course, was open, receptive, would discuss, suggest, and then we'll finally come with a solution. The other one simply said, parents, no, we are not going to do anything with parents. It was that sort of authority that, like, okay, get lost, in other words. So that I mean, I don't know. I didn't even plan to talk about that person, that leader, or those experiences. But every time I do a presentation, I just get emotionally engaged in that, and my memories come up. So I wonder if we can rewrite all of these, yeah, because that's what a leader is supposed to do. These are the statements that as leaders we're not supposed to sort of quieten, silent, or dismiss a subordinate or a colleague. Hmm, what happened? Okay. So the behaviors expected is modeling vulnerability, invite inputs, respond as much as possible non-judgmentally. If we cannot respond non-judgmentally, at least have an open sort of I statement that this sounds like a good idea, but what I feel is, I statement makes it sort of easier to digest that I'm coming from this, I'm looking at how that would help me, right? Even if you've made a judgment in your mind that no, this is not a good enough, it can flow softly to the other person who's given the idea and acknowledge contributions. Priya starts sharing an idea, and the manager interrupts, as we were discussing earlier. So no one returns to her point, right? So she's interrupted, and the discussion moves on, but nobody comes back to what she has said. So, what just happened beneath the surface? How might Priya feel? And what messages does this send to the team? It sends messages about whether they should speak or not, and it is also sending messages about how's Priya to be treated, maybe, or how the leader feels about Priya. So much more that they learn in that one interaction during the meeting. So these small moments are, and no big policies. I'm reminded of a client who was intimidated by someone who's not in a team, not direct report, a different team, but of course, senior position. And they were actual sort of physical advances that she was hugely concerned about, upset, anxious, intimidated. They had very clear policy, a big company, multinational company, clear policies about any sort of sexual harassment. But she had to consistently run to and fro to the HR for complaints. Nothing was heard. Only she was told that, okay, if you want to feel safe, then just work from home. So nothing done to that person for whatever reasons. So it is the policies are perfect, but what we do actually is so important. I think this is something pretty clear. In other words, yeah, clear communication norms, active listening, those would help in teams where we are talking with our colleagues in order to make that there's no hierarchical difference, like no leader or subordinate, but we are all colleagues, we have teams to do particular tasks. Even there, it's important that we encourage equal participation and normalize mistakes and practice active listening. So if there's someone who's talking less or whose opinion is not heard, we just make sure that we haven't heard from you. What do you say? In order to make it safe and comfortable for everyone. So building over time is important because it doesn't happen just suddenly. Consistency is the key. If we are aware, this is what this is the workplace I want to create as a leader or as an employee, I need to consistently work on those little steps. So, handling mistakes, how, whether it's my mistake or someone else's, we focus on the learning, we avoid blaming, and have reflective discussions. Language is so important. How we say it, what we say, the words we use, the tone we have, etc. And open ended questions, being curious, is always an easy way to show that you respect and value other people around you. A few quick strategies can be these. We can start with check ins. Often we do. I've seen that happening when I was in my Fulbright program at University of Maryland. I remember that's how we would check in, especially in our own the group therapy programs that we do. We always start with check-ins. Any sort of peer consults we do, we start with check-in. As a supervisor, when I start with my supervisee, it's always with check-in, right? And appreciation, inviting those who are not speaking, etc. Easy ways to deal with it. Now, if I'm not the leader, if I am just the employee, how do I take care of myself? I'm sure most of you are doing it. Nonetheless, see if there's a new learning. If there is, let me know. I'll be happy. Micro recovery breaks. So important. Being aware that I'm tired. Being aware I'm tired if I'm working virtually, tired of the screen. If I'm working in person and there are meetings or tasks or classes, then where can I take 60 seconds of deep breathing or a quick walk to the water or some way staying off screen after every 20 minutes. Even I think doctors recommend that 20 minutes later, just look at the sky or out of the window or somewhere else for 20 seconds to reset your eyes. So, cognitive reframing, when something stressful happens, it's important to take your time. I think the first thing is take your 60 seconds of breathing break. Somehow ground yourself. There's so many exercises for grounding. I don't know if we have time, but we can try any of these. Breathing is the easiest. My favorite breathing is uh, is the diaphragm breathing. So I don't know if you'd like to try for a minute. We can just go ahead and just try that. So if we sit straight with our spine comfortable but alert, if we put our feet flat on the floor to get connected to Mother Earth, focus on the breath and inhale through the nose, filling our belly, our tummy like a balloon. Okay, so just holding it in our belly. So inhale and you notice your belly expand. Hold for a count of three. One, two, three, and exhale through your mouth. When you exhale, your stomach comes back in. One more time. Let's do it. Inhale through your nose. Hold. One, two, three. Exhale through your mouth. I don't know if anyone felt anything. That was just one breath. But even if we do 10, it will take no more than 2-3 minutes. It's such a great reset. Okay, so cognitive reframing is when we first break by connecting with our body, grounding, then we review what part of this is in my control. Somebody spoke rudely to me. Is that in my control? No way. Does that say something about me? No way. It speaks about them. So, what's the actual problem? The actual problem is probably that person does not like me, maybe, versus the story I'm telling. Now, what happens is that when some of us are stressed or are uh, not spoken well of in a group, then we start beating ourselves. Oh my God, nobody respects me. I'm not smart enough. Probably they like other people. It just becomes my own rumination and my own beating myself up. Whereas it's not about me at all. It's about someone else, or the policy, or the system, or the team, nature, etc. So, cognitive reframing would help me to see what's in my control, what's out of my control, and what can I do about it. Right? This is my crazy phone. It keeps ringing without there being any call. And I keep searching where's the call from. Sorry about that. Okay, so cognitive reframing, then workload triage. So do quick tasks under 2 minutes, which you just need to do something, defer or schedule something, and delegate. So do, defer, delegate. This helps us to reduce our cognitive overload, especially in corporates. I've seen their crazy work uh, style. So that helps them. Boundary scripts, I can take this on or I cannot take this on, or I probably would be able to do that next week, not right now. So being able to speak up for myself if it's overloading my set of tasks is, some sort of scripts that we can use. I'm at capacity right now. I can help for 10 minutes, but not beyond, etc. So setting my boundaries is important as in personal relationships, so much in workplace as well. Build a micro support network. It's it's if possible, it's so important to have find one or two like-minded people at at least at workplace, where we can share, where we can debrief, where we can just have a check-in with each other. So that feels like a huge support, and I'm sure some of you I see nodding your head, because that's the you know, that's one of the reasons we enjoy going to work, because we have a couple of people we can connect to and share and talk to. Physiological regulation, we tried one. There are many other. Another breathing exercise is inhale for four, count of four, hold for count of four, exhale for count of four, and again hold for count of four. That's another amazing physiological regulation. That's the first thing whenever you're triggered, whenever you're upset, whenever something bothers you. Set non negotiables, lunch away from your desk. This is so important. A walk time, stop time, etc., etc. No Slack or Teams after XYZ PM, whatever you decide. That would help. After action reviews, when something goes wrong, what happened, what worked, what didn't. So a little bit of review on your own instead of rumination that how could I do that? Why did I do that? My God, this is so dumb of me, this is so stupid of me. Instead of that, or like, what would people think about me? Oh my God, they're going to have such a horrible impression about me. What if students think this way if we are teaching and we make a mistake? So much is important to see how we what happened and how we can make sense. Stress inoculation training is expose yourself to smaller controlled challenges, practice difficult conversations. You can even role play, you can build stress muscles. For me, the easiest is if there's a complicated presentation, I find my best critic at home, and I think all of us have our best critics at our homes in the family. Okay, look at it, and they'll tell, oh, how could you do that? How can you make such a stupid presentation and things like that? So it just helps to check and stretch ourselves. Self compassion. Oh my God. I can have a complete presentation on that. That's something most of us lack. That's something most of us don't even know how to go there. We are so kind to others, but when it comes to myself, I am my best critic, right? Majority of my clients, they have that inner critical voice that's always showing them how horrible they are and how worthless they are. And when I show them that, really, you just told me you got a recent promotion. You just told me you got such a complicated and tough, got through that interview and got a new job. Yes, but, you know, it's always yes, but let's just notice that the way I think charity begins at home, they say, everything begins at home. The first thing is be kind and compassionate to ourselves if we really want to reduce our burnout or move forward in life. Safety audit. Just audit for yourself. Do you feel safe to admit mistakes? Do you feel heard? Do you feel comfortable in disagreement? And if you notice that your ideas are valued or not. Okay. So with that, I thank you for all your time. And I think, Renalini, uh, you have enough time for the couple of tasks that you had, or probably we can take a question or comment. You're muted, Renalini.
There we go. So we have a couple of questions. Annette asked, how can you provide examples of how best to set team agreements? And why don't we go with that first?
That's so beautiful. Now, what are we looking for? If we are looking for safety, what do we talk about? Whoever decides to begin can introduce this topic that I feel that all of us are that we bring value to the team. All of us have our own personalities, our own ideas, our own experiences, and rich understanding of the work that we do. So, how can we create certain rules for the team where each one of us feel respected, each one of us feel heard, like exactly the safety part, right? exactly talking about the goal, the agenda of making this entire teamwork, the meetings that we'll do, comfortable for all of us. Because we are here to do the task, but at the same time, we want to feel good about this group, feel good about creating value through our teams and meeting. Does that make sense? Does that answer the question? And get inputs, get brainstorming on what rules we can create so that nobody feels left out, and and together, because we are talking about respecting each other, so we brainstorm and create the rules for the group. Does that answer the question?
Is that working out?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I wanted to know if you could share some examples of check-ins.
Same, like we start with, how are you doing? How was the week for you? How was the day for you? Anything that you want to say, which is a little on top of your mind personally, before we start the official meeting, right? Just wanted to know if all feeling good. Anybody wants a little bit more time to get a cup of tea or coffee, or take a bathroom break if you're rushing from a class to the meeting, right? So the check-in is largely about spending 1 minute or 2 minutes with each one of us to share. And you can probably start with yourself, that I'd like to share, today was a rushed morning. Somehow the alarm, I didn't hear the alarm, or something personal to make everyone feel comfortable, and everyone say a little bit about themselves. I think that can be a very easy check-in to start with, and then we come to the agenda of the meeting. Does that sound doable?
That does. I was wondering if there was something else that we could think about. Does anybody else have ideas about check-ins?
Yeah. Yeah, even I would like to learn if there are more ideas.
I suppose there are icebreakers.
Exactly.
You
Yeah,
come up with just a it's spring or summer is coming. What are people thinking? And you know, so
totally.
leading the check-in with a prompt.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah.
Good idea. Yeah. Yeah, Sherilyn.
Yeah, I'm in a group, and when we meet, we talk about what are we looking forward to. So
Mm.
plans, what is it that you're looking forward to doing? What is it, what are you looking forward to? And so that's how we start our meetings.
And Sherilyn, do the other responses frequently, I mean, are they generally work related
No,
or it's open
it's what they're looking forward to.
in their lives, so
Mhm.
personal, whatever.
Period.
That sounds like a safe space and a safe place to be
Yes.
able to share that also. Because I'd imagine that, if people didn't feel comfortable, you wouldn't get that personal engagement also. Um, Anybody else? Questions? Would you like to share experiences? Um, okay. Well, Rima, thank you so much. I mean, you showed us how to build resilience and how leaders can create safe environments, and especially identifying factors that create unsafe spaces. And I think something that Sherilyn and I would definitely relate to is that language matters, and how we say things, the words we use are all, and those subtle hints in our communication also. Sociolinguistic cues are really, really important when communicating. Um, so this are terms as I just wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping as far as our the interest group is concerned. We are coming to the end of this year and the end of the term for our officers. But I'd like to put where we have come from into perspective. And I was hoping, I'm glad Lauren's here, so he can share with us Senator Fulbright's vision and a personal experience with Senator Fulbright to help put what we do into perspective. Lauren, can we have that?
Well, I'll do what I can. Rima, I want to thank you. It's very comprehensive. One of the sets of questions before I get into my anecdote about Senator Fulbright, my wife and I traveled through North India before we were married while I was on my Fulbright. Full confession. We also went trekking in Nepal for a couple of weeks. Thank you for Senator Fulbright. Thank you for India and its hospitality back in 1968, 1969. My wife and I got married after our Asian travels in the south of Germany, civil ceremony, and then returned to the United States in roughly September 1969 after being abroad for 15 months. Here we are. It's 2026. There was just a summit in Beijing. Somebody dubbed it the G2. And I'm very familiar with all the Asian rivalries, the history, the culture, and so forth. So as I listened to you, I was saying about being of the other generation, an older generation, who looks for ways to communicate with the generations below me. And part of that is through the India Interest Group or the interests that I've had in the Fulbright Association since 1987. So I will tell an anecdote or two about Senator Fulbright, but I would also ask you to, each of the people listening, to take a moment or a few moments of time or several minutes of time and read the wiki article on his biography. It is really quite interesting. A lot of people don't realize that when he ran for public office in 1942, his family said, Fulbrighters don't run for public office. And he defied his family advice. He ran for the House of Representatives in 1942, as best as I can recall, subject to check. And then he decided to step up to the U.S. Senate in 1944, and he served for 30 years. But World War II was happening, and he was on the floor of the Senate or active on Capitol Hill in August, September of 1945, and the United States used certain weapons in order to defeat Japan. And he, at a dinner in Chinatown here in D.C. in 1988, was telling the story of what he, as a U.S. Senator, learned and how he learned it and how that led to his idea of starting a Fulbright program. So that's the anecdote I would like to tell, if that's okay. Em, is that okay if I tell the anecdote?
Sure, like 5 minutes, because I think we have some questions.
Yeah, I'll be quick. Yeah.
Okay, sure. All right.
So we were at the dinner in 1988. There were about 150 people. It was the DC chapter that was conducting the dinner, but with help from the national office. And the Fulbright Association, for the first time, had hired a full-time executive director, Harriet Mayer, and that's a story unto itself. She started in the spring of 87. This was a meeting about 13 months later of the DC chapter at the Chinese restaurant right at the edge of Chinatown. And Senator Fulbright had an opportunity to offer a few remarks. And he talked about that moment on the Senate floor, the moments, the month and 2 months, as the U.S. senators did not know anything about the weapon that was used, the atom bomb. for at least a month, according to his own words. And then they began to learn about it. The nuclear age they knew would be coming, but they didn't realize that that was how it would happen. And he conceived, as he told the story at that Chinese restaurant, the idea of starting a program that resembled the Rhodes Scholarship that he had been on in the 1920s at the University of Oxford. And he decided that he would propose it. And in his own words, and this talks about organizational, if you will, norms, he said his committee chair, if he had ever known what Senator Fulbright had in mind, would never have allowed the language that was put into an amendment to a major statute that related to the ending of the war in Europe and the use of proceeds of the sale of war material abroad. And for the first roughly 15 years of the Fulbright program, the funding came indirectly into the program. And in 1961, the program became a full federal, if you will, enactment under the Hayes-Fulbright, if I'm remembering, or Fulbright-Hayes Act of 1961. And Fulbright remarked about he wanted to insist that there be binational commissions to authorize the two-way travel. So I'm just going to leave the anecdote at that, directly from him as he told it. And these stories are told in the biographies that are written about him, but I wanted to share that with the group. And Rima, if I may use your first name, thank you very much for a very informative, educational explanation of modern psychology and group psychology. I'm a little bit aware of those principles, but I certainly don't have a profession of articulating them. So thank you for all the reminders and for us as a group moving forward from here into the future.
Thank you.
Rima, do you have any last comments or things you'd like to share? Anything you'd like to share?
I would just like to, I'll get emotional if I share more, but I would just like to say it's so important that we be there. What is it? The famous quote, be and let be, right? So it's important. The way do unto others as we wish others do unto us, right? So the sense of safety, respect, trust that we expect from others, that's something we need to provide to those around us. I think that'll make the world a safer place.
Thank you. That closes this perfectly, because yes, if we want to be safe, we need to make sure that we create those safe spaces. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Can people get in touch with you if they have questions, or do you have an email address you'd like to share?
Yes. You can share, or should I put it here? Should I put it in the chat?
Sure, and I can include it when we send out the recording.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us. And we have one last session. So next Saturday, we have our last chai chat. And I hope to see all of you there. Thank you. Bye-bye.